Thank you for joining us for the Renner Review, a sports show dedicated to Thunder basketball with senior sports analyst Randy Renner. I'm Sam Murch, and today on the Renner Review, we're going to be discussing the 2015-2016 Thunder season, as well as the possible future for the team, including the Kevin Durant free agency. So let's get right to it, Randy. I know you have a lot of experience covering the team on InsideThunder.com. Give me just a couple moments of your overview of the season and how it compares to the past years.
Well, I think everybody was a little worried at the start. You have a new coach in Billy Donovan. The team gets off to a 7-6 beginning, and a lot of people are starting to hit the panic button. But as we have discovered, Billy actually did know what he was doing and got the players into much better situations as the season went along. Everybody got used to playing together again, and some people wonder sometimes why, when you've got a lot of veteran guys, why that doesn't just happen automatically. It doesn't, and it takes a while for everybody to get used to everybody. As they hit the All-Star break, they were really playing well, and then the All-Star break occurred and the Thunder came back and they went into a tailspin right coming out of the All-Star break. There were a lot of tragedies that they had to deal with. The death of Monty Williams' wife in the car accident, Aubrey McClendon's death a week later, and then Dion Waiter's brother, his shooting death in Philadelphia a week after that. But they really seemed to hit their stride as they got into the playoffs, and that's really where you want a team to be, playing its best basketball as you go into the playoffs, and that's what the Thunder were doing.
So you spoke, obviously, about Billy Donovan coming on as head coach. What do you think his impact has been on the team so far?
Well, I think you have to give Billy a lot of respect for what he was able to do. I thought he brought a little more discipline to the team. There were times, though, when it reverted back to hero ball, and, that's not always a bad thing when you have guys like Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, two of the best players at their position in the world, not just in the NBA. And so the big thing is, if you go to hero ball, your heroes have to come through. I mean, look what happens with Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. It's the same thing. The Warriors revert to hero basketball some also, like we saw in Game 6 when Klay Thompson went off and hit 11 threes. Well, that was hero ball that worked. Sometimes it doesn't always work. But when it does, it is a beautiful thing to see.
And I know you've written about this on InsideThunder.com, but can you talk a little bit about your opinion of the trades that were made this season and how that...
Well, we didn't have very many. I mean, Randy Foye was basically the only one, bringing Randy Foye in from the Denver Nuggets, sending DJ Augustine to Denver. Of course, DJ was kind of the odd man out in the Thunder rotation as we got toward that part of the season. He's coming up on it, or he is now in his free agent year, so he was wanting an opportunity to get more playing time. The Nuggets offered him that, and the Thunder were able to not only get Randy Foye, who I think at times played really well, they also, and when Jon Hamm joins us, we can hit on this a little bit, saved some money by some of the salary moves that they made, bringing Randy Foye in, sending DJ Augustine. Steve Novak was involved in that deal, so they opened up a little bit of money where they won't have to pay the size of the luxury tax that they would have beforehand.
What do you think they need to do over the offseason to set themselves up for
Well, there's really only one thing they need to do in the offseason.
What's that?
Re-sign Kevin Durant. Simple as that.
And when we come back, we'll speak with Jon Hamm about just that. Now we'd like to welcome salary cap expert Jon Hamm to discuss what's on everyone's mind this time of year. Of course, the free agency for Kevin Durant. So, Jon, thank you for coming on our Renner Review episode today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm sure, like everyone else, you've got an opinion on the Kevin Durant free agency, so let's hear it.
Yeah, so Kevin Durant obviously has got a big decision to make this year. Does he return to Oklahoma City, a team that just took Golden State Warriors to 7 games? Or does he look elsewhere? So I honestly think Kevin Durant, becoming a free agent is a privilege in the NBA. So this is the first time that Kevin Durant is not under contract, can go talk to other teams, look around. But in the end, I mean, Oklahoma City is an excellent situation for him. I know there's a little bit of uncertainty going forward with Russell Westbrook's contract, Serge Ibaka's contract. But when you look at the team overall, they were the 10th youngest team in the NBA last season. So they've got 7 guys on the team that are 25 and younger. There's a lot of room for this team to develop outside of the superstars. So it's going to be difficult, I think, for Kevin to go out and find another situation like that.
So you don't put any stock in the rumors about he may go to the Warriors, that sort of thing?
Well, look, there was a lot of stuff written throughout the season that came out, right before the Thunder played the Warriors. And then suddenly an article would come out that would tie Durant to the Warriors or tie Durant to the Spurs. Listen, if I'm Kevin Durant, I want to go talk to those organizations. I want to see how they do things, and I want to take that opportunity. But again, those teams would have to make some moves and gut some of their depth to bring him in. And whereas Oklahoma City would not have to do that necessarily right away.
So talk about your expertise on the salary caps. How is that going to play a role in this situation for the Thunder?
Yeah, so the Thunder, they are a team that builds, internally. They tend to homegrown their talent. You look at other teams; they typically rely on free agency to build their teams, like Miami over the years, or like the LA Lakers, for example. The Thunder have taken the approach that they're going to draft players, bring them up through the organization, and kind of grow them that way and get them attached to Oklahoma City. And then the ones that just don't fit in here tend to work themselves out. The Thunder have taken a very careful approach over the years. Obviously there was the controversy when they traded James Harden back in 2012, but that was that was done with the long view in mind. The organization felt we can still be a finals contender without James Harden, and we can maintain this 4 years down the road, which is exactly what they've done.
Randy, what do you think about the Kevin Durant free agency?
Well, I agree with John. I don't see KD, and I've always thought this. I don't see KD leaving to go anywhere because he's got a great situation here in Oklahoma City. John mentioned the young guys on the team: Steven Adams, Andre Robertson, Dion Waiters. By all indications, probably will be coming back. What the Thunder may end up having to do at some point, though, is kind of have to balance where all the money is going to go. And one other thing that the national media kind of jumped on when Kevin Durant was asked during the Spurs series about David West, the guy who left about $10 million on the table in Indiana to come play in San Antonio for the NBA minimum. And Durant responded to that by saying, well, money's not everything. That, you're chasing a championship and some of these things are really important. The national media took that to mean that Kevin Durant would sign somewhere else because the Thunder, that's where the money is. Mm-hmm. Kevin Durant, if he's strictly in it for the money, Oklahoma City is the only place where he can sign that would make as much money as you possibly could in this situation. Thunder are the only team that he can sign with. And so the national media took that to mean if he's willing to take less money, he's going somewhere else. Mm-hmm. My thinking on this is that if Kevin Durant says money isn't everything, maybe he's willing to go ahead and sign a long-term contract with the Thunder now, rather than sign the 1-year deal, then the big 5-year deal. That would leave more money on the table for other guys, John.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think Kevin Durant, Russ, and the others understand that in order to keep this together, guys are going to have to cleave to each other a little bit. They might have to cut some corners on their contracts to keep the team together.
And, you bring up Kevin and Russ. Those guys, in addition to being fantastic basketball players, they're not exactly dummies. They know what's going on. They've seen what's happened in San Antonio. They know that Tim Duncan has left a lot of money on the table over the years. So has Manu Ginobili. So has Tony Parker. In order to have to allow the franchise to spend more money to make sure they have guys like Kawhi Leonard on their team and can afford to pay those guys. So to my way of thinking, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that the same sort of thing can happen here.
Absolutely. And if you get enough of that give and take, across the roster, it could be enough to keep the main core together. And again, finding those role players to come in and fill those other spots to keep the team competitive.
At exit interviews, we heard from some of the core players that you're speaking about respond to questions about his free agency. How much stock can we put in their responses and their confidence that he was going to stay?
Well, you never know when guys are talking, how they're answering questions. Are they blowing smoke, or are they, is this truly something they believe? I like to take most of the guys at their word, and I think that they believe in everything that they were talking about. And then, just the other day, Serge Ibaka, TMZ caught up with him in Los Angeles. They asked him about it, and he said, everybody's staying. And he was talking about Kevin Durant, he was talking about Russell Westbrook. I assume he was talking about himself too. And of course, during exit interviews, Serge was asked about Kevin, and Serge said, where's he going to go? Where else is he going to go? And what Serge meant was, of course, that to have the group together that he has in Oklahoma City, there's no place else. Because, John, if Serge were to go to San Antonio, if Kevin were to go to San Antonio, if Kevin were to go to Golden State, those teams, because of the way the CBA is, wouldn't be those teams once Kevin got there, because somebody already on those rosters would have to be gone.
Yeah, and so that's the problem with, there's a lot of money coming into the NBA, a lot of national TV money. So in the past, you saw teams start gutting themselves 2 years in advance. They had to strip their teams down to the bare minimum to go pursue a LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. Well, because all this money is coming into the league, teams don't have to gut themselves to that extent anymore. Golden State could potentially get into the running, and all they really have to do is decide, do we get rid of Andre Iguodala, Andrew Bogut, Harrison Barnes? We can still keep Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, etc.
But a couple of those guys are really important, especially Iggy.
Yes.
We've seen what's happened with, defensively, he's one of the best there is. He was finals MVP, for crying out loud, last season.
But point being is that, some teams would have to cut out a little bit, but Oklahoma City, again, doesn't have to gut anything.
Right. Because the rules are different for the Thunder than what they are for every other team in the NBA, the way things are with re-signing somebody like Kevin Durant.
And it's important to note as well, so the NBA has maximum contracts, maximum salaries. So, Kevin Durant's maximum salary in 2016 is going to be the same whether it's in Oklahoma City or any of the other 29 teams in the NBA. It's not a situation like in 1996 when Shaquille O'Neal felt like he got lowballed by the Magic, and then the Lakers were able to outbid. There will be no outbidding for Kevin Durant.
So money is not going to be the issue with Kevin Durant.
At the end of our playoff run, you noticed that there were some fans that were saying some inflammatory things about, well, because of that hero ball, maybe we should just let him go somewhere else, and that would improve our chances next year. Respond to that,
about
gentlemen.
Kevin Durant going somewhere else?
Respond to that.
Well, John, I don't know about you, but a very good friend of mine, Ron White, has a thing that he likes to say. Some people are stupid, and you can't fix stupid.
That's about right. I mean, I did see some people that were tweeting things that I hope they went back and deleted later, because it was just, when you're a fan, I know you can't help yourself. You get caught up in the moment. The emotion, look, it was misdirected. It was misguided. Clearly we can look at Kevin Durant and say, gosh, I wish he could have hit a few more shots. I wish he could have been a little bit more efficient. But you can't ignore what he did defensively in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, before, again, 29 other teams off the top of my head would take Kevin Durant this nanosecond.
Right.
So, yeah, you want him here in Oklahoma City. They are not in the Western Conference Finals if it's not for Kevin Durant.
Right. Well, I guess we'll have to hold our breath and wait and see, just like everyone else. And I think that will wrap things up for us here on the Renner Review. Thank you for joining us. You can find more of these episodes, as well as writing from our senior sports analyst, Randy Renner, at InsideThunder.com. Welcome, Jon Hamm, a salary, what is he? What are you, a salary sports cap? What are you?
Are you like it?
Randy's explaining the names to me now. We'll check and make sure that I look cute. And a sports show dedicated
over here
salary
saying a bunch of BS about me too. So I mean,
cap expert.
Salary cap.
You just
Salary cap.
Salary cap expert.
Jon Hamm. What? Okay.